Hello, hello.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm fine. How are you
I'm
feeling before it?
sure.
Is this recording right now?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Can we
I
cut
said
it?
it. Oh, sorry. What?
Can we cut it whenever Jim uploads it from like us
Oh
talking
yeah,
right now?
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll edit it. We'll edit it good.
I was like,
Yeah. No worries. But I just didn't want that to not record it, so I put the setting on, like just record the whole thing.
cool.
Heck yeah. I'm gonna go run around and do a few things, but I will be back.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Maybe it'll just be us, Peter.
People generally come in like right on time.
I know, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Do you want to do you want to like share your screen and make sure that's all
Yeah.
set up? Then
Yeah.
you can like play around with the presenter mode.
Is it sharing?
It is.
I already messed with the presenter mode and have it figured out. I have it partly on my screen and partly here because I like to see people's reactions. It's like a
Totally. Yeah, well
and it's just showing that, right? Like my
yeah,
actual
no, like this is
okay.
perfect.
Okay. I can't ever see what I present on Teams. Is there a setting for that?
You can't see what you're presenting?
No, it's just like
Oh, that's weird. I feel like it should show that on your screen.
it doesn't, because in Google it shows it, like I'll look at it on my other screen, but it's also so I see what everybody else is looking at. So there's probably some setting I need to change, but whatever. I hate using Teams for meetings. I'm a
I
Google
just
girl.
hate that it's like no people try and get on Teams and it takes them like 10 tries. It's like what's going on? You just disappeared.
I know. I did on purpose.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
How'd you feel before yours?
I was nervous for sure. I mentioned like I did a run through of my by myself right before it, and I could not get the words out. But then I actually did it, and it was just like so much easier and more fun and smoother than I thought. So it's good. I was definitely nervous though. That's just public speaking. It's great public speaking practice. Kind of weird doing it like by yourself.
Yeah.
Public speaking by yourself.
I don't ever really get too nervous in meetings, but every once in a while I'll get like a little like, oh, is everybody like this is the worst presentation ever?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of those stage reviews, and especially like when you don't know what's going on, like that just gets brutal.
Yeah.
I remember the one of my funnier presenting stories. So this was the ProTech 2.0 management presentation. So like basically presenting for my job. And I had left my moonroof, my sunroof open on my old Subaru, and flash flood like started raining so hard right in the middle of that presentation. And I was just like watching it. I knew my sunroof was wide open. And I was just like, well, we're just gonna accept that
It's
for
already
now.
done.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah, exactly. Hold up, guys. I gotta go save my 2007 Subaru Forester. I'll be right back. Did not come into play. But yeah, I was just like I was so helpless. But it just didn't let it distract me. Hi, Mike.
Michael's staying late, I think, today to watch my presentation. You're in the office by now, right?
This Teams is weird. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where my picture is in all this.
Hi, Harmony.
Hi.
What's
Hi,
going
Tanaya.
on?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi, good. This is exciting. I'm excited to hear your story.
Ugh. it'll
Great. Great.
it'll be
Tanita, is this
something.
the first seminar you've come to?
Oh, this is the second.
Okay. Oh, so you went to the last one.
Yeah, I did.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. That was supposedly really great.
Yeah, it
Some
was.
Somebody forgot to record it. It's so strange.
Oh no.
Who's
We
that?
gotta record it this time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's I we learned our lesson the hard way.
Okay.
All right, so we got the people coming on down. We'll give it a couple more minutes just to let folks kind of filter in as it gets past their work day. Thanks everybody for taking the time. Jade, any songs you'd like to sing before you start?
I don't think I need to embarrass myself before I start the presentation, so we won't punish everybody for that.
Anybody else? A little performance while we wait? No one?
Michael has dad jokes.
Oh, please. Oh, come on. Just one. Just one.
I'm not good at the whole impromptu. They got to be as it comes.
I respect that. All righty. So probably kicking off at like 5:05. I'll start the spiel.
Okay.
Sweet.
You got 4 minutes to tell your jokes, Michael. Alyssa's heard them.
Oh, captive
Courtney's heard 'em.
audience right here.
None of that. None of that.
Courtney, how's things with you?
Going well. It's really hot down here right now.
I was gonna ask. Good summer?
Yeah, my air conditioner happened to go out today, so it's like
Oh.
84 in my house right now. But
Lovely. Lovely. Yeah, I live in a sort of attic type of deal, and we had a crazy heat dome. And I like didn't leave AC fans on or anything. Came home and it was 90 degrees. I was like, oof, this is craziness.
that's rough.
Yeah, I figured it might be a good time for the Southeast to come to one of these because like you're not going outside anyways, you know what I mean? Am I wrong?
Yeah, our Galveston lab is about this hot every day, though. They don't have AC in most of their offices, so.
Yeah, I try to make it as long as possible as I can at the lab, but it's usually pretty hard to stick around.
That's good. That's a good thing when you're working is like you're physically uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, it's not just the Galveston lab, the Panama City lab. Alyssa had to leave her office because there's like black mold being detected there. So
Yeah, I didn't say poisoned. I said uncomfortable. Yeah, just a quick plug, shameless plug. We've got a bunch of different ProTech contracts coming out over the next couple weeks. So we've got a ton of different positions that we're posting for on the AIS website. Everything from fish physiologists to research acquisitions to sea turtle ecologists and all this cool stuff. So please go check it out. If you got any questions, please let me know. Shameless plug. Any other shameless plugs?
I don't have anything. We're not hiring down here.
Great. I'm gonna just make my shameless plug stand out even more. It's the only shameless plug. All right, I'll get going in like 1 more minute as soon as I see 17:05 on the old clock. Bam, 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 bam. All righty. Well, that is the time. So let's do it. Thank you everybody for coming out to our very special seminar series. So these seminars are, for the people in our organization to talk about their career path and how they got to where they are now, and sort of tell us more about the jobs that they do. So, these are very informal presentations just designed to provide information, not only to, entry-level marine biologists, but to everybody, to kind of show everybody, the different career paths that are available in marine science and even marine science adjacent. So I think we're very excited for our presenter today, someone who we know brings a lot of energy and enthusiasm to AIS in general. So I will, without further ado, this is Jade Height's seminar.
Thanks, Peter. So I'm Jade. A lot of you on here know me, but for those of you who do not know me, I'm the program manager down in the Southeast Fisheries Science Center. So I manage the Fisheries Observer program down here. Most of my staff is in Galveston, where I'm located, but we do have some people in Panama City as well. So the name of my presentation is The Accidental Manager, My Fisheries Career One Step at a Time. And the reason for this title is when I went to school for marine science, I did not think I was going to be a manager. It wasn't what I went to school for, but that's kind of how my career progressed. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, probably a lot of people on this meeting. And I just wanted to highlight how I got there. And even though it was an accident, it was a happy accident, as the great Bob Ross once said. So I will start to tell you guys a little bit about myself and how I got here. So I was born in Bismarck, North Dakota, and lived in Wing, North Dakota, with a population of 300 people for the first 6 years of my life. If I would have graduated from there, I would have been one of 8 in my graduating class. But luckily, my parents moved me to Des Moines, Iowa, and I graduated from Hooper High School. I did grow up near my grandparents' farm, so I had a lot of time in nature, and I was always around animals. I've helped butcher chickens. I've worked in the garden a lot. I was really close to my grandpa, and he was always out in the garden, so I was with him all the time. So if you guys need somebody for your zombie apocalypse team, I'm very certified for that. I do have one older brother, Brandon, who I credit for my lack of fear. He pushed me very, very hard when I was younger to not cry or complain. So that is probably why I was so comfortable going offshore with complete strangers. My dad is a carpenter. He's retired, and my mom still runs her own massage therapy and powdered Bloody Mary businesses. And one thing I want to mention is early on in my life, I did not realize the amount I would travel and the experiences I would get to have. I had my little small world and my friends, and I just didn't really think much of anything outside of Iowa or North Dakota, to be honest with you. So what did I want to be when I grew up? This is a question we get asked a lot as kids. So I had my first trip to the ocean, Clearwater Beach, Florida, at age 8. My parents actually planned a trip down to Disney World, and I liked Disney. It was fine, but I was really excited at the ocean and at SeaWorld. So I told my mom, I want to live by the ocean. I want to work by the ocean. And she said, well, you could become a marine biologist. I think this story is a very common thing for us Midwesterners who end up in marine science. We're just a little too salty for the Midwest. But there are a lot of people that I've interviewed, I know Courtney's interviewed, that come from the Midwest, and they're just desperate to break free of the corn, of not having any access to water. So we just figure, well, we could go be marine biologists. I actually was very lucky because in Iowa, in Des Moines, where I grew up, there was a woman who did the marine science thing. She got her PhD. Her name is Dr. Karen Stiles, and she actually started a marine biology class that people could go to. It was in a different school than my actual high school, so I would take the bus and go to this marine biology class. And it really confirmed that I loved fish. I loved the ocean. We actually got to go on a 2-week trip down to Florida and scuba dive all over Florida. I was certified to scuba dive in a lake in Des Moines. This lake has had some dead bodies pulled out of it for all you true crime junkies out there. But yeah, that was a really special thing I got to do. And it, like I said, really confirmed me wanting to go into this type of field. So the colleges I considered were Hawaii Pacific, too far from my mom. She said, I will not be able to buy you plane tickets to come home from Hawaii. So we agreed, not Hawaii. The next school I considered, the University of Miami, which this is going to be very funny later on in my presentation. My mom said, nope, nope, nope. Your car's going to get stolen. You're going to get kidnapped. You're not going to make it in Miami. So I got a brochure for this really small private college in Maine called the University of New England. And it seemed to be the right fit for me and for my mom, who was very worried about my safety and my distance away from her. So I ended up going to the University of New England. I won the Furthest from Home award at my high school graduation. I attended the University of New England from 2006 to 2007, and I spent my summers lifeguarding and bartending to make it through the school year. Shout out to Work Study Pay too. I did swim for UNE for 2 years. That's me. I was a big butterflyer and I was really into swimming. I started swimming when I was 11 years old, and I swam competitively all the way through high school. And my sophomore year of college, my advisor, Dr. James Silikowski, said, how much money are you going to make swimming after college? Are you that good? Are you going on a Wheaties box? So I took the hint. I quit the swim team and I joined his lab. It was the best decision I could have made for myself and for my GPA. For those of you out there who were collegiate athletes and could balance it all, great job. I couldn't do it. So the lab I worked in was really, really special. He did a lot of fisheries research. So we worked with skates, spiny dogfish, sturgeon, cod, sharks. I actually got to go offshore in college with commercial fishermen, collecting cod data. And for those of you from NEFOP, I used to work with Joe Jurek and Puggy. And then when I became a NEFOP observer, I actually got to go out with him as a fisheries observer as well. So it's kind of a small world. I also had my first little stint of management here. I managed a histology lab and taught people how to do histology on different shark samples. Dr. John Carlson, who maybe everybody doesn't know who he is. He used to be our lead in Panama City for the Observer program before all the programs aligned. I used to work up his samples. It was kind of a funny thing to talk to him about when I met him in person. And my project was titled The Effects of Temperature and Seasonal Variation on Neonate Lugragia arenacea. So that's a little skate. I was lucky, not lucky. I don't know how you want to look at it, but I was the only one in my lab who had live samples to take care of. So we would catch skates, put them in their tanks. We had a flow through water system, so the temperature was exactly the same in the lab as it was outside. And I would take care of the adult skates. And when they laid their eggs, I would take the eggs and put them in a nursery. I would look in the nursery every day, collect the baby skates, and then put them into their own nursery and keep track of who was eating, who wasn't eating, the temperature, mortality, all that stuff. I will say I helped every one of my lab mates with their projects, but nobody loved helping me because I had to be in the lab 3 times a day to take care of these animals. So when I went out of town, they're like, oh God, Jade's going out of town. But it was a really rewarding project and I learned a lot. James Stilikowski is still a mentor to me, and we check in from time to time. So if you have those connections, keep them. Courtney and I actually recently worked on a business development opportunity, and he gave me some advice on how to move forward with that. So he still touches base with me at least once a year, and he asked me if we're hiring pretty often as well. So in my head, I have to go to grad school. This, in fact, did not happen. I got accepted. I took the GREs, got accepted, and then funding fell through for this lab in Auburn. I was going to be studying fish parasitology, pretty gross, but it was interesting to me. So I just started panic applying to jobs. I was applying to program manager jobs, director jobs. I thought that with my very minuscule amount of undergrad experience working in a lab, I was going to land this cool marine biology job, but that obviously was not the case. But I was lucky to have somebody else who worked in my lab that became an observer and told me about the program. So I was an ASM and an IFS scallop observer from 2010 to 2012. I really enjoyed working in the Northeast. I was based in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and most of my trips I took out of there. I got to be in Gloucester during the really, I would say, glory days of ground fishing. Everybody was going out every single day. I went on day trips a lot. I went on some multi-days. The fishermen didn't have their cod cut yet, so they still liked us a little bit. And the ASM program hadn't become industry funded yet. So it wasn't too bad. And it was a really, really amazing first job for me. I did make the decision to move on because I was curious about other programs. And also I got word that cod quota was going to be cut by 80 to 90%. And also the program I was working in was moving towards becoming industry funded. And I just knew that was going to be a little bit of a hostile working environment. So I went down to the Shrimp and Reef Observer program. I worked there until 2012 and 2014. And I want to note that there are no pictures of me observing because I was such a rule follower that I did not take pictures offshore of myself because I was told you absolutely cannot take pictures of yourself and you absolutely cannot take pictures of yourself posted on social media. So this is why we have some more generic pictures for this time of my life. I also really enjoyed being a shrimp and reef observer. It was extremely cool. I saw so many different species of fish, the fish that I didn't learn about in college that I saw when I was diving down in the Keys and throughout Florida, but it was an amazing program to work in. The hardest part is this program does deploy you offshore for, 30 to 40 days. My longest trip was 45 days. And I remember the day I decided to stop observing was when I was in the middle of a 30-day trip and one of the deckhands was mad at me. He was throwing crabs at me. He was just being a little inappropriate. And I was like, all right, I'm done with observing. I hit my breaking point. But I made it for 4.5 years and I loved it for a very long time. So after observing, I worked as a technical sales and application scientist selling spectrometers. 3 days after this job ended for me, I was not good at this job. I'm going to be very honest in this meeting. I am not a salesperson. It was not for me. It didn't interest me. So I was laid off. And I just thought to myself, what am I going to do now? So I got a call from Lauren Wall to work on some NERDA, Deepwater Horizon projects. I got to work on a dead bird mortality project in Pensacola. It actually ended early. So I got a call 2 months into the project. Hey, this project isn't going to move forward anymore. And for those of you who don't know what NERDA is, it's the National Resource Damage Assessment Team. They're really involved with anything that happens like oil spills or natural disaster, well, not natural, but different disasters that happen. And so again, I got that call and I said, okay, I'm back to square one. I don't know what I'm going to do. But luckily, I was able to go on some oyster projects, primarily out of New Orleans, but there was some out of Biloxi, Port St. Joe. These projects were really cool. We got to work with scientific divers to do oyster spout recruitment and another study collecting oysters to test the oil levels inside of them. So these projects are very similar to a lot of projects that we have coming down the line that we currently have. There's always these different types of opportunities, not specifically what I did, but these opportunities come up often, and they're temporary a lot of the time, but they can really boost your experience and help you learn about some other avenues in marine science that maybe you haven't thought of exploring yet. All right, so as the usual trend of my story has gone, I wrapped up the Deepwater Horizon project and had zero clue what came next. I spent a few months aggressively applying to jobs and very much questioning why I majored in marine biology. I did go to a wedding during this time, and my friend was a data lead at Tech Park, and she mentioned the program needed a New York coordinator. Tech Park is where the training happens for NEFOP observers, ASMs, IFS. So if you don't know what Tech Park is, it's located in Falmouth, Massachusetts in Cape Cod. I reached out to the program manager in charge of that contract at the time. I knew her from observing in Gloucester, and a week later I was hired, and a month later I was sitting at training in Tech Park. This was my first true manager role, and for those of you, if there's any NEFOP coordinators on this call, I know how hard it is. There's so much outreach. And when I got dropped into this role, there wasn't really a lot of outreach being done in New York at that time. Plus, I had about 18 observers to work with. So I had zero management experience and just kind of had to figure it out. We did have state and federal vessels because the New York Department of Environmental Conservation also wanted to add some state days, and they did that through the federal contract. So a big part of my job at that time was getting the state vessels to get Coast Guard decals, which you can imagine is not an easy feat because it's not required, but it was required because they were required to take observers. Part of that project of covering the state vessels, we had a sturgeon project component to it. It was a cooperative project between Monmouth University in New Jersey and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. One thing I'm sure most of you know about sturgeon is you cannot retain sturgeon even if they're dead. The only way you can get a sturgeon is if they wash up on shore. So this beautiful sturgeon in this picture was one of two sturgeon that had washed up on shore that I was asked to transport from New York to New Jersey. And these sturgeon did not smell good at all. So I was sitting in the car with my AOC at the time, Brian Hostrasser, middle of February, windows down, basically gagging the whole trip. So if you're asked to transport really disgusting, nasty sturgeon, just, maybe think about it before you jump on the opportunity. I also lived in the bunkhouse with the observers, which was extra challenging. I was not, I was kind of in the middle of everybody's ages. I was older than some of the observers. Some of the observers were older than me. Some were my age. So it was just a really interesting dynamic to figure out how to manage people and these high amount of sea days that I was tasked in New York. And I will say to this day, it was one of the hardest jobs I ever had to do. I eventually decided to leave the Northeast again for warmer water and temperatures down in Miami. I've never worked with any sort of HMS species. I heard that they were hiring a coordinator for the pelagic observer program. So I decided to take that opportunity. I applied and got the job. I did not get my car stolen. My mom was wrong, but I did get hit by a car twice, not in my car. And I did have somebody attack me on my bike and try to steal it. Luckily, there was a nice person nearby who yelled at the homeless man attacking me, and he ran away. But I did not get my car stolen, and I did not get kidnapped. I worked there from March 2018 to November 2019. This particular program had a lot of industry communication, logistics, gear, data entry, QA, QC. One really cool thing that we got to do was turtle surveys in the mornings. Anybody who worked at that lab was able to volunteer and do turtle surveys down Key Biscayne, which is Key Biscayne is off of Miami. It's where the NOAA facility is located. And I really loved that. We dug up the nests, and this is the little guy that we got out that wasn't able to get himself out, or girl, I don't know. At that time, obviously, marine science is not a field you go into to get rich. So I had a side hustle teaching swim lessons. Those are some of my kids I taught. They were awesome. And that became a really big part of my life throughout my time in Miami. I really enjoyed it. It was something I felt passionate about. I taught kids, adults, anybody. It allowed me to explore more of my hobbies. So I was able to dive more. I got really into shark diving when I lived in Miami. The picture of the tuna is from my one trip I got to take, which pelagic trips are pretty cool. I'm really glad I got that experience. So this led to me becoming a task order manager. The Southeast, the POP project, I knew that AIS was bidding on the Southeast contract. And I was, about a year into the job, I just was like, man, this is not working with living in Miami and, what I'm making down here. And I was really trying to consider, what my next steps were. So Luke called me, and I kept hearing like, oh, we're going to put you in the Southeast contract, but the contract kept getting extended. So that's something that's really common in the contracting world. You may think you're going to move into a different role, or you're just trying to figure out your career path, and contract extensions can really change your trajectory in your career and plans. So I worked in Miami as a task order manager from 2019 to 2024. I worked remotely. We did have coordinators in Miami, but now everybody has basically relocated to the Galveston facility in the program. Starting a new contract with new people that we didn't know was quite challenging. Michael was there. He was on our team at the time, and we started to kind of start figuring things out, and the pandemic hit in March of 2020. So as a new, going up in management type of role, one of the hardest things came down the pipeline for me and the team I worked on to deal with. And it was daunting. There was a lot of conversations, and it was extremely challenging, but I did learn a lot. So as a task order manager, for those of you who do not know, it's managing the day-to-day, making sure all the deliverables are met. The deliverables are what the government asks us to do. Keeping track of some financial things, reviewing invoices, recruitment and retention, keeping up with everybody that we work with. So it's a challenging job, but I really enjoyed being a task order manager. I was very fortunate to be offered a PM role in 2024, and I moved to Galveston for it. I only moved to Galveston because of the crawfish, not because of the job. I'm just kidding. This role has been really wonderful. I've gotten a lot of experience doing business development. I've gotten some experience doing proposal management and writing. There's a few other projects in the portfolio I work with. That is a cameraless EM project. We have a sea grant project, And my other really major project that I'm working on is the Gulf States Marine Fisheries Commission project, which is working with for-hire vessels, so charter vessels, to take out observers. It's completely voluntary, and they're studying bear trauma in fish and post-release survivability. I actually have somebody out on one of the trips right now, and they've really been enjoying it. So it's a little bit of a different speed from the federal observer program, but it has been a really rewarding experience. So my current goals right now is, my major one is I'm working on obtaining my PMP. That's your project manager professional. Didn't think I would be doing that when I was studying physics and chemistry and all those things, but life takes you in weird places. I also would like to add more projects to my portfolio and get a little bit more experience with writing proposals and working on those sorts of things. So one of the really cool things about this job is I've gotten to travel a lot. When we first did our contract kickoff meetings, Rebecca Haley and I, we went to Biloxi, Mississippi, Pensacola, St. Pete. We were in the New Orleans area for a bit too. I also was able to attend a council meeting in Key West and do some outreach for the Panama City program because we were increasing our coverage of reef vessels at that time. The same thing, I had never been to, I called it Myrtle Beach, Florida. Please ignore that. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for some outreach there for the Panama City program as well. And we got to see our logistics coordinator, Sarah Mitchell, too. I also traveled to Spokane, Washington for the American Fisheries Society conference. And this picture of William is in Spokane. Charlie Pitts is very obsessed with carousels, so we decided to do some team building and rode the carousels. Little fun fact about Charlie. I don't think he's on here, so I can kind of embarrass him. And then the picture of Charlie, I would have put him riding the carousel, but I didn't want to overdo it. That is with Charlie and one of the coordinators in the Southeast, Megan Miller. We traveled to Reykjavik in Iceland for the International Fisheries Observer Monitoring Conference. These people in the corner are some people who attended the conference. That's Kat and Miguel. Kat works on the West Coast with safety and sexual harassment, sexual assault. She does data quality stuff as well. And Miguel is in the Netherlands, and he does some really high-level fisheries analysis there. I'm actually going to San Antonio next month. Yep, next month to attend a council meeting as well. So I just kind of wanted to show where I have gotten to go for work. Yellow is where I started. Blue is where I've actually worked out of, and purple are states that I haven't worked out of, but I've driven through to get to workplaces. So as you can see, I've really gotten to travel the East Coast. And I want to circle back to what I said in the beginning. I had no idea when I was little the amount of adventure and traveling and people I would meet. People in the Midwest tend to settle down pretty young, and I think that's amazing for people who want to do that. That wasn't my goal, and I honestly didn't ever think that this would be where I would be here in my life, but I'm really grateful for all the experiences I've gotten. So what I've learned the hard way, I tell a lot of people when I'm doing recruitment and hiring for different roles, especially observers moving into not fieldwork type of roles, that it's extremely hard to land the big three, which I call location, pay, and the perfect job. Most of us get one or two, and a lucky few get all three. So sometimes you get the place you want to live, and the pay you want, but you don't get the job you want. Sometimes you get the job you want, but you don't get the pay you want. So you always just have to take into consideration what you do not want to concede on and stick with that. Flexibility is key, especially in the world of contracting. Sometimes you get the job, but the contract is not awarded or it's canceled, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. Sometimes you have a job, it's great, and then the contract renewal comes up and it doesn't work out that the company you work for gets that contract again. So you just have to always be thinking, hey, what am I willing to do? How flexible am I? Temporary roles can fast track experience and open unexpected doors. You never know who you're going to meet if you decide to take this little short project that Lauren or Sarah Mitchell calls you about, anybody from the Environmental Monitoring Division. I don't want to leave out Chris or Emily. Sarah Fortuna, whenever she comes back. I do want to say that you should enjoy the breaks when you have them. So as I've gone through this presentation, I've mentioned there's been times where I haven't had a job and I've been back with my family and I was miserable, and I wish I hadn't been. I wish I had just had a little bit more confidence that my career path was going to work out and enjoy that time with my family. So if you have that time in between jobs, obviously focus on trying to do what you need to do to get your next role, but don't necessarily see it as something that is a negative. Relocating is hard, but it can lead to opportunities you never imagined. I, again, have met so many wonderful people. I've seen so many great things and discovered different hobbies that I probably wouldn't have if I just stayed in one spot. You will never truly understand a role until you've done it yourself. Kind of, everyone knows I'm bad with analogies, so I'm just not going to say it. Walk 100 miles in a man's shoe. Stay curious and never stop learning. Titles and pay come with time, the right attitude, and consistent hard work. You're never going to get from point A to point D. It takes a lot of getting to know people, learning different skills, and it can be very frustrating at times, especially when you're first starting out. And above all, relationships are everything. It's important. Most of the positions I have gotten have been due to knowing people and getting to know them in my career. So everyone knows everyone, and somehow I work with all of them. I really wanted to highlight how I've worked with so many people at AIS throughout my career, and not just different roles I've been in. So I wanted to mention that the assistant controller, Jay Litchfield, hired me. I had my first interview with him. The EMD PM, Lauren Wall, was the program manager for NEFOP when I was an observer. The ProTech director, Lucas Kirchie, he just started. He's been with AIS forever, but he just restarted with a role. He was my NEFOP coordinator. AIS President Luke Szymanski managed the NERDA projects I worked on, so I talked to him quite a bit when I worked on those projects. AIS VP Rebecca Haley and Southeast Observer Coordinator Brad Smith attended training for the Southeast down here. We all were in the same training class together. FMA PM Haley Anderson was an AOC and observer when I was a coordinator in New York, so I worked with her. Logistics lead Sarah Mitchell was an observer when I was a coordinator in the Pelagic Observer program. And then I wanted to mention that I actually went on a Gulf States trip when we were training for that project, and I showed up to the boat, and an observer I worked with in New York was one of the biologists from Mississippi getting trained to work on the project. And the other person from Mississippi was actually my roommate and good friend when I was an observer in the Northeast. So I showed up to the boat and I just basically knew everybody going out on it, which was very strange, but it just shows how small the world is. I also want to just thank some people, because obviously everything we do, we don't do alone. I have a lot of people that support me. First of all, I want to thank Arv, the owner of AIS. he has always been generous with us, and he continues to employ me, and I really appreciate that. I also want to thank Rebecca and Luke. They've been my mentors. They've been my managers the whole time. I've been a task order manager and a program manager. And I definitely would not be where I am today without either one of them and their support and guidance and mentorship. And I also really want to thank my immediate team in the Southeast, Courtney, Sarah, Jetta. You make my job really easy, and I appreciate you guys every single day. My team is not, I'm sorry to brag so much, but my team is just so wonderful, and you guys are amazing. Same thing for the coordinators and the observers down here in the Southeast. You guys do a great job. It's not an easy job, but I appreciate you. And I know it's not always the easiest, but you guys show up every single day and do the best you can. I also want to thank Mal and Peter for supporting me through the seminar series, going through some run-throughs, reviewing my slides, and everyone else at AIS who makes this company and our mission great. I could probably thank so many people in this company, but they're just, gotta cut it off somewhere. And this is my best friend. She's a little upset I didn't talk about her more, but does anybody have any questions?
Great. Well, fantastic job, Jade. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the shout out at the end. I love the James Wood slide. I think it's so interesting and how small the world is. But before we get to questions, just really quickly, we're gonna do the random number generator for the raffle. So we got, a couple people in here who could win. So I'm gonna generate the number, and the winner is Enzo. Enzo, what's going on? Could you speak up, Enzo?
Hello.
All right. Let me just get your last name. If you could just throw your full name in the chat, that'd be great. And
Yeah.
we will get you a little $25 gift card.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Any top priority questions for Jade, considering that you are the raffle winner?
I guess let's see. What has been your favorite part on this journey?
Good question.
That's a really, really hard question to answer. Honestly, I just think it's the relationships I've made, with coworkers, meeting different people. I find people very fascinating, so I'm really curious about people, and working as an observer, you learn a lot about people, working with the industry, and I found that to be a really amazing part of the job, is just learning different backgrounds, different experiences people have had, and I've really enjoyed that component of the job.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks. That was a great question. I put him on the spot too. Anybody else have questions? I had one.
I don't.
Okay, go for it, Mike.
Yeah, so I'm guessing there's some people in here that probably are, budding biologists in their career. Maybe they've been doing observing or some type of field work for a little while, and they're looking to make this transition into management, and they don't really have any skills. They're not really sure what to do. What would you advise people get professional experience in to prepare themselves to be better candidates for those types of positions?
That's an awesome question. I think for me, it was very much thrown into management roles, sink or swim, kind of figure it out. First of all, you should identify if you want to be a manager. Do you enjoy talking to people? Do you want to handle the hard things, the helping people when they're really, really stressed out. The next thing I would recommend is getting really good using Excel and Google Sheets. We use it a lot. And then just taking any sort of soft skills courses that you can, about emotional intelligence, about how to work in conflict, how to handle change is a really good one. Our field is changing all the time. We kind of have to adapt or we get left behind. And being really familiar with technology and how technology is changing, it's becoming rapidly more important in project management and in any sort of management. So any sort of like, LinkedIn has a lot of LinkedIn learning courses where you can get some free coursework or you can do monthly subscription. Udemy has some free courses. There's just a lot of little skill sets that you can learn from that. So that's how I would recommend getting into management. I think another thing is being a manager in the observer program is, it's really important to understand what your observers are doing if you've never been an observer. Typically, I feel like our coordinators have observer experience, but we have had coordinators without observer experience, and they're phenomenal because they really decided to understand what the observer role is and what it's like to be offshore. So those are very important things to learn.
Yeah, that was fantastic answer, Jade. Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, well, Jade, thank you so much for the presentation. It was really well presented, and I was really excited to learn a lot more about your background. So great job. I really love the aspect that you got to travel so much for work. And I was curious about your travels. Was there a favorite destination for you that you got to travel to? And then also, is there one that was the most impactful, like, I guess, in terms of your professional development?
I can answer that pretty easily. Obviously, traveling to Iceland for the Observer Conference was by far the coolest location and also the most impactful. I would have talked about that a bit more, but I only have so much time in my presentation, and I don't want to keep you guys here all day. But I was really impacted there because we were able to see that we're not alone, that people are doing this all over the world, people care. And I think especially when it feels like different things are making it feel like maybe people don't care in this country, feeling like that connection to other countries and seeing what they do was very, very impactful for me. And also, as you know, Chris, Iceland is just extremely cool.
Also, happy to hear that.
There's an Iceland pun being cool somewhere. I can't put it together right now, but
It
it's there.
wasn't cool when we were there.
Iceland,
It was actually pretty warm.
it's the
Charlie got a
coolest.
sunburn.
Appreciate that. Tania, what do you got?
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. You did a great job. And for me, moving up here from Mississippi to New England area, like, I definitely understand. And it's great that you have presented this for people who want to make that move, for people who came from small towns. And I didn't think I was gonna leave Mississippi either. Like, and for me to make this jump was great. So what was your feelings when you moved from your hometown to New England?
So I graduated kind of young. So I was applying to college when I was 16, and I just turned 18 a month before I went to college. And funny story, my parents' friends said, we will help you move Jade up to college, and they had a giant RV motorhome. So I was feeling this like mix of, oh my gosh, I'm leaving my parents. I'm not going to see them until probably Thanksgiving. And I'm pulling up to college in this giant motorhome. What's everybody going to think of me? You know, because you care too much about what people think about you when you're young. I remember my mom and dad set me up in my dorm room and they walked out. And 30 minutes later, I called my mom, basically having a mental breakdown. And she said, "Do you want me to come get you?" And I said, "Yes." And then she said, "I'm not going to because you have to try." So it was really, really scary. I think doing it so young kind of helped me in my adulthood move because I was already so used to being away from my family. I had the best group of friends growing up, and it was really hard to leave them, but I just kind of got used to staying in touch with people and that type of lifestyle. And so these moves, they've always, it's always bittersweet to leave places because I always find something I really love everywhere I live. I make friends and community, but I always kind of look at a move to another place as an opportunity just to make more friends and build a different type of community and learn something new about myself.
That's awesome. Thank you. I had the same kind of feeling when I was driving up here with my sister. We got to New Jersey and I like got out of the car to the gas station. I looked around and I was like, and she said, "You want me to turn around?" So it was kind of the same feeling. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks for Tania for that great question. I'm so happy that you kind of expressed how you're feeling sort of the same thing. And I think that's such a great outcome of these seminars is now you know, like, hey, Jade kind of went through the same thing and sort of at a different stage in her career. So you can kind of, you know, if you ever have, you know, any other questions for her, I'm sure Jade would be able to help, you know, just giving Jade a little bit more work, not like she has enough. But I think that's just,
Anytime, Sanaya. I know how
yeah.
it is.
Awesome. Thank you.
What you got, Courtney?
Great job, Jade. Thanks for sharing with us. I really enjoyed learning a little bit more about you. I know we talk every day, but that was still a lot of new information for me too. So what was your favorite moment as an observer offshore throughout your career?
Wow, there's so many. I was on a boat that caught a thresher shark, which was a huge pain in the ass for the boat, but it was really cool for me to see, and it was still alive. So I would say that was one of my favorite moments offshore.
Yeah, I would be pretty excited about that.
My scariest moment offshore was my first trip was a skate bait trip and they deck loaded. It was a Point Judith trip. So for those in NEFOP, one of the hardest trips you can do. Luckily, I had a trip trainer with me, but I just was like, I can't do this job. This is not okay. I am not going to make it. I called my mom. As you can see, there's a theme here. I am a little close to my mom. And I'm like, I can't do this job. She's like, all right, come home. But no, you gotta try. I got the same advice. She almost does it like, okay, well, come home then, like challenging me.
Love it. All right. Well, I have any other questions? I had one more, but anybody else, feel free to throw your hand up. Yeah. All right. So mine. First off, I loved the detail about how tiny your town is. I graduated with 32 in middle school, and I thought that that was tiny, but that's nothing next to 8. All right. So actually, I have 2 questions. First is how is the as a Bloody Mary enjoyer, how is the powdered Bloody Mary?
It's really good. I'm actually sending some to Luke so he can be the person who gives you an honest review that isn't my family.
Great. Well, if you have any extra, feel free to throw it over to me. But you know, as someone who also does a lot of task order managing, I know it is really, really challenging. And I've really loved what you kind of said to Michael's question. You know, when you're managing, you have to be prepared to kind of deal with people at their worst because that a lot of time management is kind of working on the hard things. I'm sure Luke can relate to that. But in your opinion, what's the difference between a good task order manager and a bad task order manager?
Um, I think a bad task order manager is somebody who doesn't stay connected to their team, and also somebody who doesn't know what everybody else is doing. So if you can't, obviously there's some technical roles, but within your management team, I think everybody should be able to do well, not everybody, but I think people should be able to fill in for different things. Like, Courtney and I both know how to do Sarah's job. And if Courtney is out, I know what to do. And if I'm out, Courtney knows what to do. And I think that's really, really important to have a strong team, and having that pulse on your team and how they're doing. And I think there's a level of also knowing the type of management people need. Does this person need more attention? Do they want to be left alone? Do they do well when they're left alone? And also allowing the teams you work on to figure things out for themselves until you really need to get involved is also extremely important to me. I think that everybody who gets to a manager level is a professional, and they need support, but sometimes they also just need a little time to figure things out themselves.
Fantastic. I think that was really well put. I definitely agree. Figuring out what your team needs. Are you someone who wants to be left alone, or do you want sort of a little bit more micromanagement? That is really a great point. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, unless there's any buzzer beating questions out here. But if not, thank you so much to our presenter today. Jade, you did a phenomenal job. I thought it was really, really well put together, and some terrific content, and it was nice and relatable to the folks. So thank you to everybody who showed up, and most of all, thanks to Jade.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. I know a lot of you have to listen to me every single day, so thanks for coming to listen to me a little bit more.
Nice job, Jade. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Jade.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.